Another podcast. Like and subscribe if you haven't yet. We're small and growing. You might notice that Josiah looks a little different today. His name is Donnie. So here we go. Some of you might know him. We're going to share this on Facebook this week.
I'm happy about it.
And we're just gonna dive in. Thank you for coming, Donnie. Everybody that I usually do this with canceled on me. So you're who I got.
Maybe you should think about why everyone canceled on you, Jared.
For no other reason other than it's Halloween.
Uh,
You know it's been 16
it
years.
is Halloween today.
It is Halloween today.
Yeah.
And it's been 16 years since we graduated high school.
Yeah.
We've almost spent
That's a long time.
the same amount of time out of high school as we have in high school.
Oh yeah, from grade 1 to the graduating.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. It's a crazy thought.
Yeah, that actually, what does it make you feel whenever you think it's been 16 years since 16?
It makes me feel like I'm young. That's what it makes me feel like.
I feel old.
Well, you shouldn't.
I feel super old.
You shouldn't feel old because 30s is the new 20s. So, and when we hit 40, it's going to be the new 20 as well.
I hope so.
I know so.
I think, well, I actually feel very, like in the last 2 years, something very significant's happened to me where I've stepped out of doing anything that I do for anyone else.
Yeah.
And now I'm actually doing what I know I'm supposed to be doing, which hilariously no one cares that I wasn't or am now doing that.
Which
and
is,
I thought everyone would care.
so you're talking about whenever you stopped being a banker and decided to go full-time music?
Yeah, well, but that's not the only thing that I stopped doing. I stopped doing everything that everyone wanted me to do.
So did you used to like have that as like a guideline for your life where it's like, this is what people think I should do, so this is what I'm gonna do, and then you had a revelation or something and you just changed your whole strategy on how you approach things, or what?
Well, I feel like you will remember the other perspective of this, like the outside perspective, because you remember in school,
Yeah.
like our willingness to break rules.
Yeah, no, we had several of those moments.
Yeah. But you were more willing, right?
Oh,
I was always the kid who was like, we shouldn't be doing this.
No,
man.
I remember
like,
being.
it's not the right thing to be doing.
Yes, this is true, because whenever we were in, what was the teacher that was our history teacher? What was her name? Do you remember?
Oh, Macklemore.
Was it Macklemore?
She cried many times. I feel like we kept making teachers.
We had this assignment set for us, and I was like, Donnie, this is like 12 pages long. You know how we can cut this in half?
We can split.
You write a page, I'll write a page, you write a page, and we'll just combine them together, and we'll be just fine. And we did end up using Wikipedia as like our guideline.
Not only did we get in trouble for both turning in the same assignment,
paper, but she went to Wikipedia and noticed that our what we
Sources.
turned in was very similar to Wikipedia.
Yeah.
And it didn't work out like I thought it would work out, but you know,
it's
it hasn't affected
How old
my
were we?
life at
Probably
all.
13.
We were 13 or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, that was like when papers started. She was kind to us to not like fail us. I think she was like,
Yeah.
I don't remember having severe consequences for that.
No,
but
she just brought us into a room and was
Yeah.
like, "Hey, you guys plagiarized." It's like, well, no, not necessarily. We just worked together.
We co-worked.
Yeah. We plagiarized off of each other.
We outsourced the things we didn't like
Yeah.
to each other.
Yeah, and you know what? I still passed that class, so it worked out in the end.
Worked out for Biden.
Worked out for Biden. What are you saying right now?
Sorry, I'm joking. Apparently, his academic record is like hilarious.
Probably similar to mine.
Yeah, it's probably similar to mine. I don't think. Yeah. So what I wanted to say, what I was trying to say is that you had a willingness to break rules in the sense of you were free. You were thinking freely. Where I was like, if there was a box that someone would put me in, I'd be like, I'm just in this box now.
Mm.
You know?
Yeah.
And that was my whole life.
Do you remember Mrs. Highfield?
Yes.
And in her algebra class, she had a pretty lazy approach.
Oh, I felt like you got away with murder in her class.
Oh, I absolutely did. I
'Cause
absolutely did.
Yes, I don't feel like you showed any work on any of the equations.
So this is how Mrs. Highfield would do it in algebra. I completely cheated my way throughout the entire thing, and this is the reason why. She'd give us homework, and she would walk around the class, and all you'd have to do is like show her the paper, like just number things 1 through 20, and
Right.
show that you did something.
yeah, she
under
wasn't
all
gonna
those
go
numbers.
through and check everybody's
She
work.
didn't check the answers. She didn't check
Yeah.
if you were even doing the right problem. She just
Right.
wanted to see 1 through 20. Is there
Yeah.
work under it? You're good. And that was 80% of the grade. So I figured that out, and I would just do that. I would literally just create crap. Just write stuff down under a number and just show it to her, and then she'd look at it and go, okay, 80% done. And then whenever the test showed up, I'd flunk them. Like I would just bomb them. Like I'd get 40% on the test. But I'm still passing because the homework that she would come and look at
Yeah.
was 80% of your grade.
Like, got wise? Or
No,
just
she
didn't
never
care?
got wise. I think she was just lazy, and I recognized it and was like, well, this is how I'm going to get through algebra because I don't see this as something I'm going to use in the future,
Yeah.
so I'm going to cheat my way through the entire thing.
Well, see, and then, yeah, you had the nuts to do that, and I remember being in those classes and being like, oh my God, Jared, how are you? You know, like as the rule follower I was, you know, like I was doing the work. I did know how to do algebra.
And I would do it all in study hall, too, like an hour.
Oh, that made me so upset. Because I would be
study
like,
hall
oh,
and then algebra, and I'd just do it all then. It took me like 10 minutes, and then I'd get 80% of my grade.
So, okay, I want to run something by you about our moms because our moms were really good friends. So
Yeah.
we were interconnected like in a stupid way. Like everything was just getting swirled around, right? Because our parents were talking to each other about what was happening to us as we were like
yeah.
growing up. And my mom, one time I remember it being like 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning. Okay, I'm
Yeah.
asleep. I get this like on my door. Mom busts in. Wake up! The Holy Spirit told me you didn't do your homework. And I was like, ugh, how did he know?
So she was right.
Yeah. I was like, of course I didn't do my homework. God, you know. So like my mom's waking me up in the middle of the night, and I'm like having to do algebra, and I guarantee you it was like that era of like me not doing
Where
my
I'm doing
homework.
it in
Yeah,
study
where you're
hall.
cheating through every bit of it, and I'm over here like my mother has awoken me in the middle of the night. You know, I'm like growing pains and like my body's changing. I'm tired, and I'm like staying up all night working on algebra for exactly the same result. Like I think you might have gotten a C. I might have gotten a B, but
I got a
wor-
guaranteed B. The homework was
worked-
80% of the grade.
Yeah,
I got a
worked
guaranteed
so
B.
hard to get 85 instead of 80. You know what I mean? Like,
Listen, and the tests were 20% of your grade, so if I get a 40%, that's like, what, 7%? I'm close to an A.
oh, God,
So
bro,
I was
it's
good.
Terrible.
I was good.
Yeah, I mean, it's making me question our education.
Of course,
Like
you got
entirely because
I
I
mean-
feel like I got a great education, but that's because I was just doing what people told me to.
I would get by. I was never very interested in school unless it was something that I was curious about.
You were
Like,
never interested in school. I remember you never thinking it was cool.
no, I
you-
just thought to myself that am I going to use this in the future? And if the answer was no, I would just do whatever I could do to just get by.
So we were both okay. You were homeschooled your whole life, and I was up in public
The only
school
time
until
I went
sixth
to
grade.
The only time I went to school was kindergarten. I went to Grace. Everything
Yeah.
else was homeschooled.
Okay.
And then whenever Cornerstone came around, I didn't even want to go. My mom made me go, and I'm so glad she did because that's where I got most of my friends. That's where I built most of my my social skills.
What social skills?
What social skills? So I mean, I'm so glad that I did go to that. But I mean, like, I understood early on in my childhood that not only do I not care about school, but I don't care about college because there wasn't something that I was passionate about with college that I would want to, one, get in debt for, and then two, even pursue. So
Yeah.
I avoided it at all costs.
So with college, okay, I have changed completely. I remember whenever we were 18, 17,
I got made fun of whenever we were.
I was the one doing it.
Yeah,
I
you
was
were,
making fun of you.
You were part of it, but
Yeah.
there was this one person that I can't even remember her name at this point. where she asked me, "Are you going to college?" And I go, "No, I'm not going to college."
Yeah.
And she goes, "What are you going to do with your life? Go to college," basically, like
Yeah.
trying to make me feel bad.
Yeah.
But her opinion didn't matter to me, so I just kind of like,
Yeah.
whatever. About 2 years later, she got knocked up and dropped out of college, which is sad for her, but
Good for the baby though.
on just a little bit of satisfaction for me because she was making fun of me for not going to college. So I'm sure she's doing great, but
Well, I mean, no. I actually, as much as past me so thoroughly disagreed with you then, I 100% agree with you now.
Yeah.
That you made the right decision because I ended up going and I had a full ride. Like I got a scholarship and I still was $30,000 in debt when I left, and that $30K kept me shackled to $300 something odd dollars a month.
Yeah, the thing is about college debt is it's not something you can claim bankruptcy on and get out of.
Yeah,
It's stuck. It's stuck there for forever.
I absolutely fully
Understand
that.
Yeah.
I would have loved to just like somehow gotten rid of it. But for me, at this point in my life, I'm saying I think you made the right call for you.
For me, yeah, no,
Yeah,
college is for some people and not for some people. I'm not saying you shouldn't go to college. If you have a passion that requires a college education, then yes, go to college.
Yeah.
But for me, it didn't make sense. There was nothing in my future that I was passionate enough about to go and get like one debt and then another. Just a lot of people go to college just because they don't know what else to do.
Right.
And I didn't know what to do.
I didn't know. I knew what I wanted, and it had nothing to do with college.
Right.
So, do you remember us like starting our bands, like the
Yeah.
3 different ones we were in?
I remember me, you, and Carson
Yeah.
in the parking lot, and there was some kind of bet we made where it's like, all right, if this, maybe it was a quarter or something,
Yeah.
and I was like, all right, heads or tails, Donnie. If it's heads, our band name is Jumpin' a Hole.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I remember this. Yeah.
We flipped the coin, and it was heads, and our band name was Jumpin' a Hole.
Yeah, we had a cool name before then. For a second, we were what were we? We were Revolver for a little bit.
Revolver, yeah.
We were Kessel Run. That was a Star
Kessel
Wars
Run,
reference.
that's true.
Yeah,
we did some gigs
name.
as Kessel Run.
I remember. Okay, you know what's funny is that like it was me. You were on guitar. I was on bass, and then we had a drummer. And how uncomfortable I was doing that. Like I was just singing a lot of it, and we were playing together and like bass and singing.
Yeah.
But I was like naive enough to think I could do it, right? and like now that's all I do.
Yeah.
And so there's a funny part of me that's like, I'll be playing bass and singing at a bar like where I was Friday, and I'll think this is exactly how it started. Like this is the exact same feeling. Like me doing this, holding this thing, and then like there's a guitar player and a drummer, and it's like that's funny.
Whenever I got into music, it was because you got into music first, and you started playing guitar.
No, you got a guitar before I did. I played piano.
Oh, is that what happened?
Yes, and it actually made me deeply jealous because I really wanted to play guitar. You had Supernatural and Jesus Freak, and I had PFR and Jesus Freak, and we both really loved that like that grunge intro.
Yeah. How I remember it is you started music before I did, and
Justin had a drum set.
Justin had a drum set. Justin started drumming before I think either of us picked up an instrument, that's my brother. And anyways, you started getting good. And I thought, okay, well, I'm kind of a competitive person. And so I saw you getting good. I was like, well, I'm going to get better.
Right. And it didn't take you long because there wasn't a whole lot to...
You started with Larry before I did. No, you absolutely had a guitar before I did because you started guitar lessons with Larry before I did. And that's why I knew who to go to for guitar lessons.
You had a Cort acoustic guitar.
I did. I had a Cort.
Before I ever had mine.
But you started taking lessons from Larry before I did.
Do you not remember? Okay, we were playing like Sega Genesis or Nintendo. It was 64. Playing Nintendo 64, and I'm like, dude, you should get a guitar. I'll be the keyboard player because I have a keyboard.
Maybe that's what happened.
We had arguments about this. And Justin will be the drummer. And like it was like,
Yeah.
and so we were planning this long before either of us did it. But yeah, we did. But we ended up getting guitars around the same time. I remember it because in the summertime, my dad said if I lost 10 pounds, he would buy me a guitar. And fat me couldn't lose the 10 pounds. And then at Christmas, I cried and got one anyways.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, you lost a ton of weight. So I thought you might have done it.
Little chunky me was really emotionally disturbed about not being able to have a guitar unless he was skinny.
You did it afterwards. If you didn't do it on his timeline, you still did it.
I wonder where my body dysmorphia came from. Just kidding. I don't have any of that.
All right.
Wait, there's this. Wait. So you got this guitar. You became way better than me at guitar at the time, in different ways though. And I also remember you doing things. See, well, this goes back to boxes, like being in a box and being outside of a box. Mm-hmm. To me, there was always a right way to do it. Music had to sound like the Beatles. Like, that was like my thing.
Right.
Beatles, it has to sound like Beatles, right? Or Killers, or whatever we were into at the time. And then you were over here. You had gotten a very nice, comparatively speaking, keyboard that had all these samples, like drum beats and everything else.
I still have that keyboard.
Yeah, and
it sits in my dining room.
Would always make. You would use whatever tools that were available to make whatever you felt like at the time, and there was no box about it. Mm-hmm. You would come up with, like, I remember one of my favorite things is you would do covers of songs and not go to the trouble to learn the actual words or even like the whole song, but you would go to the trouble to like craft what was happening. So there was like a Secret Agent Man cover and like
I would literally just go to the keyboard and press keys until it sounded like what it sounded like. Yeah. And then that's what I would do.
But there was hundreds of them.
There was hundreds of them, and they were all just average, but they were close.
And we would burn CDs for each other, and I remember passing back and forth. And one time, like I thought that my rock and roll was going to change the world. So like,
it still might.
Yeah, and so like I was like, it has to be like this, and then your stuff was so open, and I think that it's always been that way. And so, anyways, I guess my personality being like a rule follower, and it has to be in the boxes, and it has to be tidy, and everything else. I finally got to a spot that bring it all back around to like the beginning of what we were talking about is that like now I don't have a box.
That's good.
Which is it's so freeing, and the fact that nobody cared about any of that to begin with,
right,
kind of lets the pressure off of everything.
You know what's crazy is in life in general, people, their life is somewhat affected by what they think people are thinking about themselves. You know what I mean?
Right.
And what really happens is people just overthink themselves. People aren't thinking about what you're doing as much as you're thinking about what you're doing.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
So it's like everybody just gets in their head and thinks, oh God, what do they think about what I'm doing? They're probably not. They're probably not thinking about what you're doing.
Oh, and that was perfectly why you passed algebra.
Yeah.
Because no one was thinking about what you were doing.
Which, before I get on to the next segment that I had prepared, Mrs. Grove in science.
I hope she sees this.
I hope she does too. We're going to put it on Facebook. She might see it.
Yeah. Mrs. Grove, you pretended to hate us. I want you to know, Mrs. Grove, you pretended to hate us.
But
we know you loved Jared and I.
We're your favorite. I wonder how many.
You had to have loved us. Like,
I wonder how many holidays she goes to her with all her family. Is like, let me tell you about these two dudes. They were the worst, but also the greatest.
You know what? I watched for the first time this year. This year, I watched for the first time Wayne's World.
Oh yeah, I saw a picture of you dressed as
Wayne.
As Wayne, yeah.
Okay. You and I were full on
Wayne's World?
Wayne's World. Like, these two guys are complete idiots, but everyone loves them, and they rock at everything, right? Have you seen Wayne's World recently?
Yeah, I've seen it. It's been a bit, but
we weren't amazing at what we were doing, but we might have been the only people trying to do things, right? Even though I was in a box, we were still willing to take the risk of getting in front of people and shooting for, hey, we're gonna do what our heroes do. Like we did some challenging music.
What was the first song that we did?
Kim 6A by Switchfoot.
No. I'm talking about, okay, so sorry.
Let It Be. The
Let It Be.
Beatles.
Yeah, I was talking about Cornerstone talent show, Let It Be. I remember that I screwed up the solo.
Oh,
Live.
I could have never told you that. I could not.
I did it way too. I was like, it was like da 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 da.
Yeah.
I was like da 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 da. I screwed it up, and nobody. I mean, I'm sure everybody was just being nice, but nobody came up to me and was like, "Man, you really screwed that up."
Yeah.
Like Lydia Gray's dad came up
Yeah.
to me and was like, "Jared, you did a great job," and I was thinking to
Yeah.
myself. Okay, I mean, I screwed that up. I'm glad you thought that, and
Yeah.
thank you for coming up and saying that to
Yeah.
me. But I mean, I knew I screwed it up.
Oh, I know for sure our chords were wrong.
Yeah, they
like
probably
I
were.
remember specifically what we played, and I know
Yeah.
exactly what it was supposed to be. Now, like, you know, being a musician,
Right.
But like, I think the other part of it was like this willingness to, in some ways, and this is something I admire about you, Big, is that willing to take the risk and just go out and do the thing,
Yeah.
even if it's kind of wrong. You're still choosing to be the like I've heard this phrase, I don't know where it came from, but called the man in the arena. Like, you could choose to be a spectator, which is what people who are afraid do, is that they sit on the sidelines and watch other people do the thing. But something that you've always been able to do, that I've always gleaned from you, is like, we're just going to get in there, we're going to do it,
Right.
you know? And also how little that stuff mattered. And
Yeah.
the absolute, like, crowning achievement of all of that, like, getting up in front of people and, like, trying to entertain other people and be of value to other people in the room, was actually the things that really hit were, like, the lip syncing.
Oh,
How we
yeah.
would do-
Lip
Yeah.
syncing was fun. Really, I mean, all that.
like, you would do the Aretha Franklin covers and the...
you did two of them with us, didn't you?
Yeah, but one of my only regrets probably was, hey, you should have just been in that. Like, you guys should have picked funnier songs, kept going, and kept just built that thing into, like, the funniest. Like, we could have, like, I don't know. I think about those times. I'm not trying to, like, back in high school, but I remember, like, I think if every time I watch the Flight of the Conchords now, all I can think about is, like, man, it'd be really nice to quit everything that I'm doing and get Jared to be in a Flight of the Conchords cover band where all we do is perfectly do Flight of the Conchords, because that was what we were doing,
Yeah.
you know, which is like this funny, like, trying to make people laugh, making funny music, and
Yeah.
like these guys turned exactly what we did as high schoolers into, like, this
Yeah.
incredible thing that
You know-
like am blessed by.
What those talent shows really did for both of us is gave us or prepared us to have, like, a stage presence.
Yeah. Oh,
You know,
sure.
it's like perform well in a scenario where you're on stage and you're supposed to, you know, entertain a room full of whatever amount of people.
Yeah.
There's been moments where I've literally used the skills that we learned from those talent shows
Oh, yeah.
to, like, give a toast at, like, my sister's wedding or at a friend's wedding or something like that. Just making me comfortable on stage. I am naturally at this point, not naturally. I mean, I acquired the skill, but at this point, I am very comfortable on stage. If you put me randomly in front of, like, a group of people, I'm almost more comfortable there than I am in a conversation between me and another person that I barely know. You know what I mean?
I know. I can totally, like, kind of empathize with that. Like, that was the. It was so funny that we were. I almost feel like it took a certain level of, like naiveness.
Yeah.
Like, we didn't know. If we watch it, I think there's the DVD of all those things
Yep.
kicking around. But we didn't know we weren't good enough to do it, so we
Yeah.
just went ahead and did it.
Yeah,
You know,
we
and,
just
like,
tried, yeah.
it kept paying off. Yeah, it definitely prepared me in a lot of ways to do that. Now, I was in it for all different reasons, I think, than you were. I don't know exactly what drove you the most, but I remember, like,
I was trying to get a laugh or trying
Yeah.
to just, like, I don't know.
well, I remember being up there doing that Cars number, and, like, looking down and seeing. You remember my girlfriend back then, but like, I remember being like,
Are you noticing
Oh
me?
yeah, like
Look
this
what I'm
is
doing.
it. Yeah, like I'm like the thing now. I remember having like my Reese's, like my grocery store tag clipped to the end of my
I remember
guitar.
having my tiny tie. Thinking it was the coolest thing.
Oh yeah, the tiny tie. The tiny ties, the untucked dress wear. Like it was like,
I didn't actually think
Yeah.
it was cool. I actually thought it was hilarious, and that's why I wore it.
oh, see, and that's the other thing too. We could have been so much funnier too, because I was like trying to be serious.
Yeah.
I was wearing Ben's Toronto
Yep.
Maple Leafs like red jacket.
A lot of people ask me about the tiny tie. Like, Jared, why are you wearing that tiny tie? It's like, is it not
Are
hilarious?
you not paying attention to me right now? Have I
Do you
not?
not? Is that
captured?
not the thing that you're noticing the most? And guess what's attached to that tiny tie? This face. You're noticing all of this.
Ah, dude. It's almost like the little thing is pointing up at me.
Yeah, that was the plan.
It was such a good thing for what we both do now, I think, for sure. But
Yeah.
I think it directly affects the kind of music videos you produce and the different video things that you've been able to come up with over the years. Is like, you know, getting comfortable just expressing yourself in front of people.
Yeah,
Where do you think it came from for you?
like just the ability to.
Or like the desire to
stuff?
even try to do it?
I've always, I mean, like, as a kid, we would make home videos just for ourselves, and I always had a blast doing that, making it and then
I remember you
watching
doing
it back.
stop motion.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
We did some stop motion stuff with Legos and things.
Mm-hmm.
Like I've always loved just creating. Really, the problem that I've run into over time is like just trying to find somebody that is equally as passionate as I am. Because whenever I
Mm.
start working with somebody, if they're not showing the same passion, I'll lose my steam, and then my consistency is gone.
Mm.
So it's motivating to work with somebody that has an equal amount of passion as you do about something. If you don't find that, then it's hard to get it done. And you don't want to do something by yourself, really. You want to work with somebody to accomplish something. It's way more satisfying, and also it creates accountability. It's like, hey, what are we going to create this week? We got to come up with something. All right, let's come up with something. Let's get lunch or whatever and make something happen. If you're just by yourself, you're just saying that to yourself, and then yourself would be like, you know what? Instead of doing that, let's just play video games all day, or
Oh,
let's
yeah.
just sleep, or something. You
That's
know?
a tough.
But
one
whenever
when you're
somebody's
self-employed.
relying on you for something, it makes it to where you have to get it done.
Yeah, you know what's crazy is the only way that this year I've produced an album, and the only way I got it done was to say, hey, on Tuesdays at 7 p.m. everyone is coming to my house.
Yeah.
Like everyone involved in this thing has to be at the house. And that way, if I don't go set the recording studio, if I don't go clean the room, if I don't go get the session started on Logic, if I don't go do those things, then I've let down these 3 other people that are like,
Exactly,
hey
yeah.
man, like we're 7 to 11.
Yeah.
What are we doing? Like,
Right.
and then at one point the band was like, bro, why does it take us an hour to get started?
Right.
And I was like, because I'm lazy, and I didn't, and I didn't set the session,
all
and
lazy.
I didn't, you know, so like, but all of that, I'm very lucky to have a team right now around me doing Lonely's music that has built-in accountability to it
Right.
in that way. But the other flip side of that is like what you're saying is you're like, hey man, it sucks when you don't have these people. I've had 30 people
Different
in Lonely's.
Yeah.
Like since
30 different
2009,
teammates.
it's 2023. Since 2009, 30 different people.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and it still sounds exactly the same. So like,
Right.
what? Well, and it doesn't sound exactly the same. I think this version of Lonely's is the greatest version of Lonely's that will ever be. You're gonna really appreciate this new record. Everyone should. But yeah, like that. That there's like a push pull there. Like
Push-pull, yeah,
you are
that's what you need.
always going to be the most passionate person in your project.
Right.
Always.
Especially if you're heading it.
Unless you get just as many leaders in the group, and that can be problematic too.
It absolutely can be problematic.
Like I would love it if other Lonelys would bring songs, but then I'd have to be managing whether or not the songs were good.
Right.
So I don't know. I would love for more collaboration, but also maybe you don't like it. There's a big letting go of the control over the art when you get people who care as much as you do.
No, I mean, you have to, like, if you get somebody that, your greatest asset when you're creating anything is finding a person that is just as passionate about it as you are. And so they're going to want to put their art in what you're working on. And you got to let them do it because otherwise they're going to go somewhere else. They're going to find somebody else. They're going to find somebody else that lets them release their art. So I mean, that's what you want. You want somebody that wants to create just as bad as you do. Because if you don't, then it's not going to work. It'll fizzle out. The consistency will be gone. The dream will be gone. Once you find somebody that it's like, this is what we're doing. We're gonna make or break this. This is what our future is gonna be. And you keep grinding until it happens. Then the only thing that you can experience is success. You can't lose if you don't quit.
I think you're right about that entirely because also the work is its own reward. Like if you don't like the grind,
you might be just
like
making it for yourself in the moment, but if you keep making it for yourself, other people will appreciate it and count on you to keep creating. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I think that has to be exactly right because like all of my like when we were kids, it was like it has to be like the Beatles.
Right.
But now, the more that we actually get work done and the more that I actually know about the Beatles, hilariously, like that Peter Jackson documentary that's like 8 hours long, where you watch the Beatles for 8 hours. I've done it all 8 hours, multiple times. Like
it's motivating for you to watch that?
Well, it's motivating and freeing because sometimes it really sucks.
Yeah.
Like the Beatles suck. And I'm like, dude.
So do I sometimes.
I get that.
I can relate.
That's band practice right there, man. It's awful. It's like, that is so bad.
Yeah.
And like looking at what the Beatles did, and like I've done the math on it, they started in 61, and then they played 8 hours a day.
Wow.
Like 2 4-hour sets, and then they worked in this one really like bad part of town in whatever town it was in Germany, but they would play this one club, and this one club owner like had them, and then this other club owner like doubled their pay or something, so they moved over to this other place. But it was all like around all these strip joints and stuff, and they would play all day, and they used to like take uppers. Like
what, coke or
like
something?
Meth.
Meth?
Like, it wasn't.
Is that
they
an
didn't
upper?
know it. You could get amphetamines over the counter. They called them uppers, and they would stay up and just play.
Wow.
And that's not a good thing, but they cut their teeth playing all of this music that was super duper duper good. Then they got into the studio, and then they only did what they knew was going to work super duper good up front, and then they got super bored of that. And when they were making so much money that they could kind of middle finger the process, then they just literally, they made a song, and if you do the math on it, they wrote and recorded like something like 300 and some odd songs over the course of 7 years. Like between 63 and 70, they recorded some over 300 songs, 30 of which were #1 hits.
10%.
In the UK, so 10% hit rate.
Yeah.
But that's not that great. When you buy, remember how U2 was coming out with records, and they still are, I guess, but U2 was coming out with records.
They just played in the Sphere in Las Vegas.
Yes. They come out with an album every 3 years or whatever. And
one time they forced their album on me through my iPhone.
Yes, but you liked one song off of that CD, I guarantee it.
Yep, we probably did.
Right, but the 9 others you were like,
God, why is this on my phone?
Right? And I love U2, but yeah, they're 1 in 10.
Yeah.
You're lucky if of those 10 songs you do your very best and you're like, this is amazing. Like, I love every bit of this 10 songs. One of those is going to be good enough for anyone else to like, be like, I like it too. You know?
Yeah.
And that was also the Beatles. They're only a 10% hit rate. And they tried their dangdest, but they were doing from conception to release a song a week.
Wow. Yeah, consistency. There it is.
Every week they would. Now, was it done consistently? Were they going in and doing one song a week and then doing all the press? No, they would do them in chunks and then they would do the. But they were working so hard. And the answer to content creation is you have to do loads of it.
Yeah.
Like a lot of it.
Keep doing
one
it.
In 10
a lot
of
of it's
gonna,
and a lot of it's not gonna work out. But if you just keep doing it, something's gonna hit.
If you're the Beatles, 1 in 10 will work.
If you're the Beatles and they were one of the greatest bands in history.
If you're just a regular guy.
If you're just a regular guy, maybe one out of 100. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so like I was talking to one of my guitar students this week, and she's a great songwriter in the way that she kind of had this what we had, which is like this like I don't know that it sucks, you know,
Right,
you know, and so I'm like, hey, I don't ever discourage the students. I'm like, you just got to go write.
Yeah, just
10
keep going.
more.
Just keep doing it.
Yeah, just keep because I have hundreds in a folder on Dropbox that are like, well.
Not sure.
That
but-
smells like a turd, but you know. But I'll send them out to the band and like in chunks and be like, "Hey, any of these are right?"
Yeah. Is the band ever like? Are the people that you work with in music now, or do they ever be like, "Hey, Donnie, that song kind of sucks"?
Well, I think what's funny in post, like after all the production, there's a certain number of songs that we just like,
Nah.
don't really want to play that one anymore. like there's like you know, we have to kind of sit on them for a while. There was a song that we thought like this is the single, like this is the best song. This is definitely the good one, and we recorded it first, and we recorded the whole rest of the album, and we're like, bro, that is trash. That is complete butt. Like, that is not okay. We cannot. We got to redo that.
Yeah.
And so now I'm kind of like what I thought was going to be the lead song, the song that was like going to do the best. It may still, but I think it's like the whole rest of the album is better than it to me.
Wow.
But that's a good thing, right?
Yeah.
And we got better and better and better, and we actually found out what our sound is from
Just doing it over and over again.
oh so much
Yeah.
over and over and over and over and over again.
I wanted to do a segment between me and you
Okay.
that required dad jokes.
Oh, I've got one prepared for today. You mentioned this.
I'm very excited about it.
No.
All right, do you want to go first?
I think you should go first because you have more.
Okay. Do you know the difference between wallpaper and toilet paper?
I got in huge trouble last time I tried to wipe my ass on the wall.
No. Let me ask you again. Do you know the difference between wallpaper and toilet paper?
No. What's the difference between wallpaper and toilet paper?
Gross.
Yes, I know the difference. One of them you glue up on the wall. The other one you run over your butthole when you're taking a crap.
Okay. All right. Well, didn't sound like you knew the difference. So.
Is that the joke?
That's one of them, yeah. All right. What do you got?
Okay. There's two cowboys,
Okay.
right? Walking in the desert, dying of thirst.
Okay.
And one of the cowboys looks up and goes, "Whoa, is that a bacon tree?" And walks up to a tree with bacon on its branches. Then suddenly, he's shot dead on the spot. Bang! Dies, right?
Yeah.
Bang, bang, bang. So, and the other cowboy looks up and says, "No, I think it was a ambush."
I think it was a ham.
I have no idea why they had to be dying of thirst for this to happen. This
It is
guy
what it
murdered
is.
this other dude.
All right.
Apparently, one of them is like just a murdering cowboy, just like waiting for this guy to look at this tree.
All right.
It's miraculously growing bacon.
That's a great tree.
Oh,
Who wouldn't
man.
want a bacon tree? I want one.
Bro, you know how gross that would be?
It sounds
Like
delicious. What are you talking
meat growing out of, like, is it cooked bacon or is it raw bacon? Is raw bacon
Doesn't
growing
matter.
out of the?
about? You can cook it if it's raw or if it's cooked out
Okay,
of the
how
tree. It's
nasty would
ready
it
to
be
eat.
though if you didn't pick the bacon tree bacon and it just sat out there?
I mean, it could be pretty
That'd
gross.
be the stinkiest tree ever.
It would be. Or actually no, it could be the most delicious smelling tree if it comes out cooked.
Is maple bacon?
Yeah, it might be. I don't know. All right, I got another one. You know, 30% of owners lets their pet sleep in their bed.
Yeah. Okay.
Bad idea though.
Why?
My goldfish died.
That's great. Bro, I have such an issue with pet bed people. Like, I think you guys are crazy. People who do that.
Let their pet sleep in their bed.
I mean, I get it, especially if you're
I'm
like
one of those
single.
people.
I know, but they're cats. You
Yeah,
can
it
just
is-
kind of
it is
throw
a
them
cat.
and they're
It's Leo.
fine.
It's my cat Leo. All right, I got one more for you.
Okay.
You ready?
Mm-hmm.
What happens whenever you slap Dwayne Johnson's butt?
You slap the rock.
You hit rock bottom.
Okay.
Those are pretty good, right?
That's pretty good.
Those were pretty good,
I
right?
wish I had more. My nephews are just at the age where, like, I'm Uncle Donnie. And,
Do you
like,
prepare dad jokes for them?
no, they prepare them for me.
Ah.
They are funny. Like,
Well, then
like
you should have just stolen one of theirs.
there's a text thread right now that said, "Quick, as fast as you can, send me your dad joke," and that's where that came from. Is my
I
nephew?
see.
Yeah.
But see, his dad, I got to be honest, his dad joke was a little bit too wordy.
It's too wordy. Well, it's probably
It's
because I
too wordy.
delivered it bad.
No. It's just got to be like question or statement, one-liner. That's
The problem is that, like, all of my jokes that actually came from my dad, we can't talk about.
That's true. All right, I got a series of questions here that we'll end the podcast on, but I'm very curious about all of them. Okay. All right, so let's move on to a couple of these other ones before we end the podcast. We're sitting at this is going to be our longest podcast so far of another podcast. Going to be eventually the number one podcast in the world, but right now it's probably the last place podcast in the world. We got some moving to do, but we'll get there. All right. You know, the English language is pretty dumb. All right? These are the questions that I have about it. Why, whoever got the job, why was he assigned the job? Because we've got silent letters that make no sense. Like,
Okay.
let's talk about the word no.
Okay.
Okay, not no, N-O, but K-N-O-W. Why do we have a silent K? Why? Okay, that guy was assigned that job, and then somebody else checked off on it.
Bro, I'll tell you what was happening.
To some extent, and they're like, yeah, that's a great idea because it's going to make learning the language hard and frustrate everyone. It's going to be hilarious. Let's go with the silent K. You know what I mean?
Silent
It's like
K.
the silent K, and there's multiple other words that have these silent letters that make no sense.
I think it has to do with, like, other languages blending in. But to me, it's funnier to think that there was a team of guys.
A team of guys
Okay, at the Words Factory.
at the Words Factory where
Okay.
they were figuring out how to spell all their words. They're like,
and
okay,
one guy came into work sick that day.
or hungover or something.
Yeah. And they're like, "Oh, Jeff, are you okay? Are you sure you should be here today, Jeff?" And he's like, "Yeah, it's
It's
like
fine.
16 whatever. We don't even know what this is."
I'm fine. I got this great idea.
Yeah. And anyway, so he's sitting in his typewriter like everybody else, and he's like, "Ugh."
That snot looks like a
No,
K.
no was gonna be N-O-W, and now it's now. And then he sneezed and it was K.
yeah.
I think that's the way I would have invented that story.
It's awful. It's awful. I've actually watched some videos where people from other languages have said the hardest language for them to learn is English because there's so much nonsense in it. Like there's no.
There's much.
So
there's
it's
a
like,
lot
all
of
right,
missing.
no, we've
Yeah.
got N-O and we've got K-N-O-W. The K is silent. Why? There's no system. It's just silent. But why? Because it's going to be confusing, and that's going to be hilarious. That's the plan.
It's almost like all of English is like an inside joke
That's what it feels like.
that like Anglo-Saxons are in on. No one else is.
Yeah. What's another word that has a silent? There's so many. That's the thing is there's not a system to it.
Yeah.
There's so many random letters that you put into a word.
It's because French and German and like all sorts of other Latin-inspired languages are all like having babies,
Yep.
and that's what English is.
And that's what English is.
Yeah. I think it's probably gonna change a lot, especially with kids these days that make
Especially
up
with
absolute
slang.
stupid words.
I mean, like the English language has changed a lot over the years because of social media. They just like shortened it and made it like three letters instead of like a full word.
I'm in a band with a guy who says OD. Have you heard this? OD.
No, what does that mean?
Well, from where I come from, it means overdose, overdrive.
Okay,
Or something.
overdrive.
Yeah, right. Something.
OD.
It means
You're like, all right,
and
we're
he
gonna
goes,
go to this place
is
Thursday night.
OD. And
OD.
OD, which sounds terrible to me. Like, all I can think of is like an overdose. It could mean awesome, could mean terrible, it could mean slow your roll. That's OD, right? So that has permeated my whole world because I'm in a band with a guy
Yep.
who does that. And then I'm hearing like no cap, and I don't even know how to use no cap in a sentence. Like, does that mean
I don't know.
like
I don't understand.
like don't like
no cap. Like, I think-
no limit? Like no
yeah,
cap.
no cap.
There's no cap on that.
This is gonna be awesome.
Or like there's no lid on the lemonade, so if you spill it, it doesn't have it.
No cap, it'll spill.
It will spill.
The lemonade will go everywhere.
yeah. Or and I don't know, but I guess that's the way that language works. I wonder, like, okay, when you're watching war movies, because I have a group of guys that come over
Yep.
and we watch war movies. I always wonder, like, did my grandpa talk to his buds
Like we talk.
like we talk to each other? And I certainly know that even between you and I, there is and I've told you this before, is that there's an accent that only me and you and Zach and Ben to an extent have.
Yeah.
That if we get together, and especially if we've had a couple drinks, we all start talking the same.
Yep.
And that is specific to like the four of us.
Yep.
Like when those guys are together, everybody's doing the same thing. I remember like you brought a word in, I don't know where this is so funny to me, bonehead. Like we used to call each other bonehead all the time. And that is a funny, like, okay, I've started to really appreciate, like, everybody knows all the swears, but if you get like real creative and you start using like 5th grade level of like creative like insults, there's a ton of funny words in there that
Yep.
you just never hear. So I don't know. You brought that in, and so like our little group, we weren't allowed to say shit, so it was crap, and it was bonehead, and it was like you've just been saying dingus, which I know came from Tony.
It did not come from Dad.
Bro, are you sure? I feel like you
100%.
said that.
100% sure it didn't come from Dad.
Where did dingus come from?
It came from me, Cody, and Jake.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Dingus was originated there. If you've said the word dingus, somebody heard us
It's
in the
because
grapevine.
of you. You're the reason.
Yeah,
I
I'm the
had
reason.
That. Yeah.
We are the reason dingus exists. I'm 100% convinced.
Okay, where did that come from though? They didn't invent dingus.
Nah, they didn't. But
Yeah.
I don't know where it came from.
But no, yeah. So like that was our slang. We had our version of that sort of thing, that was ours, and I think English just gets like it just constantly gets obliterated by each generation.
Yep.
Coming up with ridiculous things to say.
Yep. All right. So one more thing. So I have 2 kids.
Yes. You know where those are coming from, right?
Yeah. I know where it's coming from. And I'm done. Me and my wife are both done having
Celibate.
kids. No, not celibate. No, this is leading me into what I'm trying to say to you, Donnie. I'm not celibate. We had our kids, and we're done having kids.
Okay.
So you know what's in my future?
What?
The big old nut job. The nut job.
This hasn't already happened yet?
Hasn't happened yet. And you know what? I'm terrified. I'm terrified.
Oh, you're scared of that, yeah?
I am absolutely scared of that.
I hope your doctor has a ninja hat, like headband that he puts on, and he has
How do
2
you-
pairs of scissors, and he goes at the
How do
same
you
time.
how do you even order that? You go up, you call your doctor and be like, hey, yeah, I'd like to order 1 nut chop. He's like, okay, cool.
Do you want both or just
Do you
one?
want both or just one?
I want to be running off one for a little bit.
I would
actually.
just like to make sure they don't work. Okay, cool. So you'd like to order nut sore for a week? That's the one. All right, please pull around to the next window.
Okay. All right. So you go to get this done. What I'm actually genuinely confused about, because I haven't given this a lot of thought, but now that we're talking about it, is I feel like they're hanging in there, and that matters. Like that they need whatever's coming off of the.
Yep.
So like,
sure.
if you cut them and tie them, because I think that's what they do.
Yeah, I think so.
Are they tied together in there like a dumbbell situation?
I have no idea. This is all
and
I
they're
know.
floating around like tied together, bud.
This is all I know. I was hanging out with my buddy Nathan the other day, and he had it done, and he said it was actually not like.
Are you talking about the same Nathan?
Yeah, the same Nathan.
Okay.
And he said that the actual operation is not that bad.
Yeah.
It's the next week that
You're sore?
That you're sore. It's like you spend a week.
Where do they get in? Do they
I have no idea. I didn't ask that question.
Yeah. Is it
All
like
I
from
know,
is it,
I don't know. And,
how big
and
is
honestly,
how they get way in there? They pull them
honestly,
out.
I'm not looking forward to it. I'm very scared of it. But what he said was the actual operation is not that bad. But the following week feels like you're getting kicked in the nuts every single day for a week straight.
Bro, I can help you prep for that.
And I don't. I'm not looking forward to that. And no, I don't want your help preparing for that. Okay, I'm good.
Sometimes I feel like I've grown out of like the nut shot video. Like the guy getting hit in the balls is not funny anymore.
No, it's still funny.
It's every time.
It's absolutely funny.
Every time.
And this is the last thing I wanted to say before we ended this is something I can't forget is, do you remember at the end of whenever we were graduating high school, everybody is walking around signing yearbooks and stuff like this. I can't remember his name, but I feel bad about what I wrote in his yearbook. You know what I wrote? Everybody passes their yearbooks around trying to get you to say something nice about them. It's like, hey, sign my yearbook.
Yeah.
And you write something like, you were great this year.
Yeah.
I won't forget you or something. Jared.
Right.
This one kid, I can't remember his name, and I don't know why I wrote this.
Yeah.
It was a conceited thing to write. He was like, hey, Jared, do you sign my yearbook? And I was like, yeah, sure. I wrote, someday I'll be famous. Jared.
I full on believe that though.
And I wrote that,
Yeah.
and for the longest time, I didn't think anything of it. But about 10 years later, it just popped in my brain one day, and I was like, why would you write that in that kid's yearbook? He probably read that later and was like, wow, Jared sucks. This is not what I wanted to see in my yearbook.
Well, I'm sure he doesn't think about that day like you do. He probably doesn't remember that you wrote that.
No.
Yeah.
He does, because what did you do after you were done passing your yearbook
them all.
around? You read them all, and you're like, oh,
Yeah,
I
but
like
I
that.
couldn't tell
I like
you
that.
one thing
I like
that you
that.
wrote in my yearbook.
Yeah, but if I wrote someday I'm going to be famous in your yearbook,
I would have said me too.
do you think that might have stuck out a little bit and made you think, wow, Jared sucks?
I actually think not that much.
Really?
Yeah, because like one, teenagers are stupid. Number two,
I was stupid.
Yeah,
that's
like,
why I wrote that.
Yeah. Well, I don't think it was. But I also don't think it's that stupid either, because there has to be something in us makes us want to do this kind of thing.
Yep.
Something in us makes us want to go make records and shoot video and create content and all the things that we're doing now. And it takes a little bit of that.
Yep.
Like I naively think I'm going to be successful at what I'm doing, or maybe not naively,
Not
but more
naively, I was
like
about to
in a
say.
very good way, like delusional.
No, you're not delusional either. No, if you.
Well, no, okay, delusional maybe is not the word, but like I choose to believe the success story of my life before it's happened.
Yeah.
And I just don't think that that's that bad. I kind of think it's awesome. There's other things that I think, like when I think about the kind of things that we used to do, like I remember one time just creating a coalition, like a NATO, a pact of kids down in study hall, and we're like, when this one kid comes in, we are going to cream him with every ball in the gym.
Oh, yeah, we did.
And this dude walked in, and we made him cry.
Who was it? I don't remember doing that.
I can't name names on this thing, but there was a guy who came into the gym, and we like
made him cry.
Threw balls at him like we were stoning him, like give us Barabbas, like
I don't remember this.
it happened, and this kid cried, and we didn't think it was going to happen. We thought it was going to be funny, and that, like, you know, like, oh, funny, like, we're going to hit him with a bunch of dodgeballs and stuff, but it hurt him, and then he was crying.
Well,
And
sorry,
like
whoever
that,
you are, I don't remember you.
it was Aaron, but I can't tell you which one. Now you're thinking, and you can't remember.
I remember an Aaron.
Yeah, but I think it's just because all the girls liked him. I think that's why we decided to do it.
Oh yeah, we're experiencing a lot of jealousy.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah, so like that's the kind of thing I think about, and I've actually apologized to him. I went up and like found him.
And you're like, I'm
And I
really
was like,
sorry about that one
Aaron,
time you walked into study hall
destroyed you.
and we all
on
pummeled you with
one
balls.
Yeah, like, but that was not. We weren't the only people that did that.
Actually, it's starting to come back to me.
Yeah, and so I've talked to some other people that we went to school with, and I'm really realizing that even though like I'm kind of diminishing your yearbook story, and I'm saying like that probably didn't affect that kid that much.
Yep.
We were in a unique position of like, we were kind of popular in our grade, and I didn't feel that way. I felt like a loser, but we were in a position where we were actually in leadership. Do you feel like you were a leader at the time? With our friends, I definitely think that you were our leader.
I never felt like that.
Well, I most definitely could guarantee that outside of like Raymond kind of had his own thing going on. But in our friend group, as we were kids, you were our leader. And it was because you didn't lead with an iron fist. You know what I mean? Like, everybody just respected you because you were fun and kind and funny if you were close to you. But then there was this whole other peripheral of people that weren't in our thing, that we didn't know about, we weren't thinking about. But those people, the more I learn about them, the more I get to know people that were around us at the time.
Yeah.
On the fringes, the more I realized we could have possibly hurt feelings, or we could have not been helpful.
Yeah. No, I mean, sure. I never thought of myself as a leader. I just thought of myself as like a person in a group that was kind of well known because we would put ourselves out there. That's all it was.
It's true, and it's not like we elected you,
right?
Like leader. And also, we were leaders of different things. We had a very respectful friendship because I feel like I led our bands.
Yeah.
But you led, like, from a cultural standpoint, I feel like you led the boys.
Maybe.
In a lot of ways, you kept us together. Because I remember.
Well, I'm good at that. I'm good at keeping people together because it's a desire of mine is keeping the people that I care about close.
We managed to overcome a ton of really difficult emotional situations as young people in a way that I don't expect we could have done any better.
Yeah.
And I think that you were the biggest part of that, mainly because you were taught to be kind in a way that my parents didn't know. I was kind of mean. You know, they didn't know I was a bulldog sometimes. But yeah, I don't know. That was definitely my experience. Was like, you were our guy, and deserved it. Like, it wasn't like you were our guy and I wish you weren't. Right. It was like, bro, Jared for prom king, duh, you know, or whatever.
I don't think I ever was prom king. I went to 6 proms.
It doesn't matter. Like, I mean, maybe
that's what you do when you're homeschooled. You go to 6 proms.
It wouldn't have mattered if you were or weren't. It was already like decided that like you were the party when it was happening. So I remember, because I've heard from other people in our high school situation that were saying, I really wanted that. I really wanted that situation, but there was no place for me
in that
because
group?
it was already full. Like, that you were already you know what I mean? Like, and the girls would compete, and like the girls wanted to be Mrs., you know, prom queen or whatever, you know, and so that whole friendships were divided over that kind of thing. We didn't have that with the boys because we were like,
No,
then we know how to be friends. You know?
yeah, you know how to be friends. Forgive and forget.
Yeah, there was so much dumb stuff that we did. We were just so used to it that it
Yeah,
was like,
no, I mean, like
we're not gonna not
we would
have.
get mad at each other just like anybody else, but like
Yeah.
5 minutes later, it'd be like nothing happened.
That's actually one of my favorite things. Is I remember you being like so funny, calling people. I remember you specifically calling somebody out completely on their crap, like in front of everybody.
I would do that, yes.
Yeah, and it was, but I mean, it was the guys. It was
Right.
the guys. It was just the guys, and you would be like, so and so, stop doing this.
Yeah.
And then everyone would be like, yeah, he was right. Like I should stop doing that. And the guy who was doing it was like, yeah, I should probably stop.
And
And then
probably stop. And then we'd all be over it. in, like,
that was
5 minutes.
it.
It
And
didn't
then
matter.
sometimes that person
It
would
wasn't
fight
something
you, which
that
was
stuck
hilarious.
around.
But it was, yeah, that was our. It was so, I feel like in a lot of ways. So I don't mean to be giving you this like giant head about it. I just
I
think
don't.
that
I'm not.
at the time,
trying to
did you
either.
feel responsible? And I guess not really, or
No, I didn't feel responsible at all. I just would put effort into the people that I cared about. That's it. So like if somebody was mad about something at somebody else, I would try to be like, hey, stop. Everything's fine. This is a little thing. Just get over it or whatever. Like, I mean, I wouldn't say it exactly like that. I try to like say it in a way where they felt like I cared about how they felt. You know what I mean? So I never felt like a leader ever in our group. I would just try to keep us together. That's all I would try to do.
Well, I think you did a great job for the most part. I don't know what, from my perspective, it seems like you did an excellent job, not knowing that was what you were doing.
No, I didn't. I never thought of myself like that. So, but this is officially the longest podcast we've done so far.
It's easy to do because
It's easy to do because we have a lot to talk about, and it went very smoothly. But thank you, Donnie, for coming.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure we're going to do this again.
Yeah.
You aren't Josiah, but he's Donnie, and he'll probably be on another episode.
Bro, we should get
we're gonna
me
put-
and Josiah.
Yeah,
I like
absolutely.
Josiah.
Yeah. We're trying to keep it at 3 people. We're going to have either me, Josiah, and Max, or me, Josiah, and you, or me and Max and Josiah, and then bring on other people as we continue to be consistent. This is episode 5 of another podcast, which is so vague that it works with everything, the title. But thank you for watching. We'll see you next week.